Ready? Let's go.
Let it all out, we gon' let it out. With wounds in the way. Hey, yeah, hey, yeah. With wounds in the way.
We're back with another Wounds in the Way, and so many of us have had to face so many different wounds that we've had to endure, and people have literally counted us out. But I am so thankful for resilience. And I have to tell you, one of the most beautiful people that we have today with Apryl, right, is a woman who has a bounce back game that is absolutely crazy, Miss Natanya Ross. You guys might remember her from Boy Meets World or from Nickelodeon, but she has an incredible story, and I actually can't even do it justice. I'm gonna let her go ahead. Just share a little bit. Yeah, I think you got this. You got this. But to please share a little bit about just, you know, what it is exactly you've gone through with some of your crazy experiences in the industry and out.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me on.
Of course. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be here with you guys. Yeah, actually, that I've never heard it put like that. I have a crazy bounce back game. I'm gonna steal that. It's going on IMDb tonight. Yeah, I started child acting really young, 6 months old. By the time I was 10, I was like a professional working actor. Mm-hmm. If I had to kind of like sum up my story really quickly, just so you guys have a better picture of who I am. By the time I was 18, I was like a pretty famous child star in the 90s. Worked my whole entire childhood, whole life, and found out at 18 that my mom stole all my money. When I was 14-ish, my father left and back then had a sex change. Now we know as a transition. And in the 90s, we didn't really talk about this kind of stuff. We certainly didn't talk about addiction and mental health, let alone fluidity, gender fluidity, and what we identify as. So that was all just before I turned 18.
Crazy.
Wow.
And, I found a comfort in drugs and alcohol, and that's been a public part of my story. That the second I put that substance into my body, I was finally able to like that,
Wow.
that feeling, that moment where I'm just like, okay, where it didn't matter that I had been made fun of my whole life for having red hair, or that I was getting roles that I thought I should be getting. Yeah, none of that mattered. That my dad walked out at 14 and my mom stole the money, and this person influenced me over and that person and these people used me. Like none of that mattered anymore. It was just this like, and like after that moment, really, I did anything I could to keep that going. So inevitably, unfortunately, it took me down a very long 10-year run of drug addiction and alcoholism. I was homeless for a little bit. That was crazy. Just a few years earlier, I was like one of the biggest child stars in the 90s, and then I was living in a car, and then subsequently that took me down to Skid Row, and my drug of choice was heroin. I'm very open about that. And I share all of this really in just hopes that if just one other person hears the story and they relate to it, then it's all been worth something, So I got sober in my 30s and really hadn't had any other job but being an actor, and somehow found my way in the mental health industry and substance abuse industry. So I started working in rehabs.
What's up, guys? You are watching Wounds in the Way. Right now with me, where wounds are dealt with and not swept under the rug. Sponsored by Fashion Nova and on the Strong Home Network. Guys, Fashion Nova does it every single time. I love this number. Super comfortable. It's cold in the studio, so they got my back with this cute crop top that goes over it. If you want to shop, go to fashionnova.com. Tell them that I sent you.
I love that.
And and in the last 10 years, I kind of worked my way all the way up there, and really found a passion for charity work, nonprofit work. I founded an organization 12 years ago now called San Fernando Valley Feed the Homeless. I was just driving around and there's so many homeless people everywhere. The epidemic has gotten worse and worse and worse, and especially throughout COVID. So that's my organization. Through COVID, I found Hope of the Valley, and we were raising money to get people off the street and put them into the shelter of a tiny home.
So when you do all of the stuff that you've done that's giving back to the community, it's because you felt where they've been, basically.
Well, I've been where they've been.
You've been, you've gone through all of that. What I think is so incredible is that you are you were are still, but in a place that so many people idolized as a child star, right? Shows that we would watch as kids and just the smiles and the fun and the great, all these things. And Apryl and I've had these conversations before because she more so has had more of, obviously the industry connection. I've more done like the behind the scenes stuff as management, right? But her experience, please to explain, like seriously, and because I don't want to say too much that I can't say, but.
Well, I actually dated someone. So I was on the other side of it and like just trying to like love a person through it. And initially I didn't even know that this person had any sort of addiction issues at all. It was like really functioning, high level. And I'm like, and then I just started paying attention to like just certain things. And I'm like, okay, something's off. But it really kind of destroyed our relationship, you know? And it was really hard to love a person like that. It was hard to, and you just, like I beat myself up when I was in the relationship. Like I was beating myself up every day, just trying to figure out how can I, you know, help you survive, or how can I was scared that at any given moment I was gonna get a call that he had croaked over and died. And I had just had a conversation with him before my father had passed away. Because I didn't know my father was even using, which was like, you remind me a lot of my dad, but it was just other similarities. And then interestingly, my father ended up passing away from the same thing. Wow. And I would have assumed that I would have gotten a call with the man that I was dating rather than like, it's crazy.
And that was her biggest, she called one day and she was like, I had this dream. It was a dream, I think, right? That you had, that he had overdosed. Or something had happened where the person she was dating, and she was like freaked out. I'm just so scared that this could happen.
He died from a heart attack in the dream.
And can I? And can I tell? So this is the other part to that is you had mentioned before that was one of the scariest moments for you is waking up next to a really good friend that literally that was like her biggest fear. And I feel like that's a lot of like industry that's common. It's common.
Oh yeah, it's super common. Yeah, that was really like the turning point of my life. I don't talk about it often, but I had a boyfriend who passed away next to me.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so
let me ask you a question. When you were, because I wish I would have kind of asked him this, but when you were using like that, was it ever a moment in your mind where you were like, I'm afraid to die, or was that just not even a thought? Like,
I just think we had such less education back then about the seriousness and gravity of drug addiction and alcoholism that, I mean, I knew I was very smart. I knew there was always a possibility, but I was so deep in that, and I had sequestered myself. So there was no family or girlfriends, boyfriends around. I mean, it was me and two other people, and we just went off the rails. You know, we were not, no one could find us. When I do that, I don't put anyone else through it with me, if you know what I mean. So, but yeah, I mean, I knew there was always a chance of that, sure. But I wasn't like using to die.
Yeah, I guess I get what you're saying.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But, and I'm sure you didn't expect that when you're using with friends, you're going to wake up and you might be the only one there.
No.
Like, I can't even imagine the heck that would have felt like to just be like, hi, hello, wait. And it's just no response. And that was your turning point?
I was going to ask that too.
Yeah.
Was that after?
I mean, it took me a little bit here and there to like really get it figured out. But in the next few years, I left all of that life behind.
I was going to say, it would have sent me more into a spiral.
Well, that was the choice. I mean, the choice was that or really take it and go use it and help as many people that I could with it. And that was the choice I made. And that's right when I started working in treatment and just like learned every rung of it basically from the bottom up and found, you know, where I fit best in that industry. And like I said, started working with a lot of nonprofits as well. And there's an organization called WAT. It stands for the Women's Association of Addiction Treatment. So I've been president now of the national board for the last 5 years. So yeah, it's crazy. I mean, when I was like living in a car on Skid Row, if someone had said like, oh, you're gonna be doing all this stuff, I would have been like, well, let's make it through the night and see.
Remember how you said that? Like it was that woosah, like as soon as that first intake, you felt that moment. Did you feel like, people always say this, and I feel like this is the thing that people say that when they don't have any experience with drugs, they'll be like, you're always chasing that high. Like that's just their cliche sentence to say. But what does that really look like to be functioning? Like, did people know that you were really struggling with that?
I was not functioning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
like by the time everything was off the rails, I was like living in a car. Like
so it wasn't something you can hide anymore at that point.
No.
So then the people that were around you and they're like your family that loves you or that are coming after.
There was no family.
There was no family.
Oh,
it was just me and my mom at that point, and she had taken my money, and as soon as I wasn't really capable of acting anymore,
are you guys now in a better place?
We're not, no. Oh, okay. Unfortunately, no. I found out when I was 35 that I'm actually adopted.
Oh my gosh,
girl.
I have a whole other birthday and everything. Just crazy.
So are these triggers for it? Honestly, because for someone who's been, how long have you been sober now?
I haven't drank alcohol in 16 years.
Oh, good for you.
And then the drug abuse aspect, is that the same time frame?
13, yeah.
So for whatever reason, you found a way to, like, how can people, I mean, okay, without just saying how can you, but other people that are in a similar circumstance, how do you find a way to not be triggered? You're in the process of a divorce right now too.
Me.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Because when I feel like I have, like, you know, issues, or especially like in relationships or things like that, that stuff will send me into a spiral. Not obviously like on the drug side, but just I feel the need to like want to drink.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's a natural human emotion to want to go outside of yourself instead of looking inwards, because that's the hard work to do, right? The easy thing to do. And for me, I mean, just because I don't drink or do drugs, I mean, I'll like shop too much, or you know, I'm like, shit, those 5 shirts will fix it. I just know it. You know, or do some dumb shit. But I know, cognizantly, I know what I'm doing because I've done so much of the work and I've been in recovery so long. So
what does that look like? I've done the work.
I've done the work. I don't know. I mean, I've learned that, like, the more I think about you, the less I think about me. I've spent the majority of my life thinking about me and what's best for me and what do I get out of it and how can you help me? How can you fix me? And once I started turning that thinking around and really just led with a heart of service, and really like the more I think about you, the less I think about me, my life started to change, you know?
Okay. Can't this be like a double-edged sword here? Because the more I think about you, the less I think about me. In the good way is I'm serving you and I'm not being selfish. In the negative, it's the more I think about you and I'm serving you and I'm sacrificing for you, the less I'm taking care of myself. Well,
no, I mean, I think you have to really take time to learn what that sentence means.
That's why, tell me.
And it takes however long it takes, you know, it took me almost 10 years. It's just knowing that I have thought about myself for so long in such a selfish way that if I can be of service to other people and give back to the world in that way, which is really why I believe we're all called to be here in the first place, is love and, you know, to be of service to each other in whatever way. But you have to have boundaries. You have to know who you are. You have to be strong in your conviction. You can't be a pushover. You can't be a doormat. You have to know when something doesn't feel right. You are allowed to say no to it. And really, it's more about helping those in need that are struggling with addiction and alcoholism. It's not like my girlfriend calls me and she's like, you have to drop everything you're doing right now to help me pick out what dress. And I'm like, no, f off, you know? Like, I'm doing something.
Do you say that to your friends?
No, I don't talk to
Oh my God, I do.
No, I don't talk to anyone like that, but I have very strong boundaries.
That's good.
Because I have to take care of myself. I just mean that, like, anybody who would ever call me for help to make their selves better spiritually or personally, I will be there to help.
I really love that so much. And I think, would you say that that's part of your bounce back is the way I learned to do that is to just keep serving?
Yeah, that's part of it. And then I just spent a decade learning how to really love me.
Wow.
So I love me first so I can love you second.
So what did it do? Like what no, it really is.
No,
it is because there's like so many, I feel like we keep peeling back another layer. So now we're at the layer of it all comes back down to self-love. Yeah. Like was there like, I mean, like you said, you were one of the most popular, you know, 90s star, like people would covet that and want that. So what was it that you looked in the mirror and were like, ugh?
I don't think it was anything about looking in the mirror. It was just, I think people that are afflicted with alcoholism and drug addiction have a different chemical balance in their brains than somebody who doesn't have that, So my brain is always going to talk to me differently than how yours might. So, you have to get all of that under control through therapeutic services or whatever it's going to look like. Yeah, it was never so much that. It was more I just hated who I was as a person. I was so miserable inside that I would put all of these harmful substances into my body to try and make it better. But really it was because I wasn't loving like who I am. So once I learned how to do that, the rest really just got super easy.
On its own.
Yeah.
Is this what you find in the homes that you work, or the group homes, or the people that you're working with? You find that common thread with so many people is like, there's something about you that you're missing. There's some type of misery there. There's an emptiness there. There's something that needs to be filled.
Yeah.
Is that what most of that? I mean, I know, again, it sounds so cliche. I'm trying to be mindful of that because that's not an area that I've struggled with.
Totally.
I do have an addictive personality, but it's like
cake.
Absolutely. I love my cake. I love the sweets, the cake.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say I don't have that, but I do. It's just not, thank you, Jesus. It is not a controlled substance like that. Right. But so watching some people go through that, and especially in the industry, and I know we've talked about this a little bit, but I've worked here for 20 years. Right. And in this time frame, the people that I've managed, the people I've been around, that they've been around, it's like they have all of the toys in the world, all of the money in the world, the fame, the riches, all these things, but they have this emptiness inside. And I've noticed too, especially because the ones that I've worked with have grown up in the industry,
right?
Babies, like how you did.
Right.
Every freaking thing that you do not want your children to have access to is right there.
Yeah.
And for free. Like, here, let me get, because everyone's doing yes man.
Yeah.
Everyone is doing it. A lot of people are.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
And then everyone is your yes man. I just want you to be happy. What do you need? And so you don't get that, that you don't get checked, right? At all. And and so then when you find somebody that does check you, or that does put you in your place, or tells you that's not okay, now that person's the bad guy, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, just thinking through that, and even where you've come from, how frequently do you see that in the industry, and how the heck can we change that? Is it frequent? You've seen it a lot, right? It is frequent.
You mean with like kids?
It's not just kids. I'm saying the industry in general. It's even what Apryl was saying, that's not the only person, the one person that she mentioned right now that she has experienced something like that with alcohol, all that.
Same,
and then it becomes that like the peer pressure of like them trying to, put it on you. And then you're in a position like, oh, that's not really what I do. But like she said, everybody's doing it.
So then you feel kind of forced to want to do it.
Right.
To be that turn up.
Yeah. I mean, I think the best advice I would have for that is just be really careful who you surround yourself with.
Well, that's really perfect, actually. That's good advice. Yeah.
Because anybody who really loves you and cares for you isn't going to peer pressure you into doing something that's like obviously not your vibe,
Yeah.
So
that's what I experienced.
But also too, I mean, I've spent the last 10 years trying to help empower women into knowing exactly who they are. So there's no shame anymore in saying, no, I'm good. I'm chill on that tonight. But, and getting up and walking out or whatever it is, or even just knowing not to be in that situation in the first place. Again, it comes down to the self-love, it comes down to the self-love. But and you have to be careful who you surround yourself with.
That's really true too. And how's your relationship now at this point with your dad? Is that...
Oh, yeah, she's been gone for a long time. Oh. So, my father left when I was 14. I never spoke to him ever again. He transitioned on his own without us. I don't speak with my family. My mother, my birth family, I am now very, very close with. So I got very lucky there. Yeah.
So I just want to bring attention to that. So when you said she's been gone for a very long time, at the time you didn't really understand it, but now that you do, you're able to, so you kind of just embraced it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I work closely with the LGBTQ community. I'm an advocate and an ally, and have been for a really long time. We have a whole youth of kids that are, experimenting, I suppose. And it's a different world than what we all come from, and strongly believe love is love, and I try my best to make every human feel comfortable and meet them exactly where they're at. So I have learned over the last few decades that she died as a woman, and I'll refer to him as her.
Wow. Do you find in the LGBTQ community that the drug abuse or the connection might be a little bit stronger because they're dealing with so much?
Just working in treatment, I know that there is definitely a link between gay men and substance abuse. We see that a lot. We see a lot of transgender people as well because of their experience they're having just in the world, just trying to get accepted as a human being. So yeah, but I mean, it's drugs are getting everybody across the board. It has no care or concern for creed, race, nothing.
Yeah. I feel like it's definitely a attachment with like they go hand in hand, mental health, for whatever that looks like, right? Because regardless of what you struggle with, that's what I was just asking about, that community aspect, because within the community, they focus so much on mental health. Like you said, trying to figure out who am I? Right. Whatever that looks like. I'm not even just speaking on gender, but what does that look like? And when you're not sure of it, and you don't know how to love yourself because you don't know who yourself is, right? Now you're struggling to try to find that. And like you said, it might be really easy to mask all of those feelings by putting some type of substance that takes you far away from all of those feelings and that thoughts, right? Yeah. It actually gets me really scared, because how do we identify that in our children? Like, what are you going to do, Apryl, to make sure that Ame and Mega don't have to, how are we infusing self-love into them? You see what I'm saying?
Being honest. Like I present my kids, Mega's 10, will be 9 in March or whatever, but like telling them about these things. My kids see homeless people or addicts on the street. We talk about it. Good. And it's like some people would say, oh, it's too soon, but like when they see they have a heart for that, and they know like if you end up doing this is what this looks like, unfortunately, and it kind of has put fear. So I think the only way to do it is by showing them and allowing them the truth. Yeah.
Did you share with him about the circumstance, like what happened with your dad?
No.
Okay.
But Mega's so smart that he literally made a comment about, hearing us speak about it and finding a pipe he passed away in the car. And so, yeah, he's smart enough to know.
These kids are smart today.
They are.
Yeah.
So you might, just a suggestion, you might actually want to talk with him about it, because I know I mean, and you would know more because you work with people in this area, but I'm only saying that because he did mention that. So he heard something about it.
Yeah, but but Mega didn't know my dad. Like, my stepdad presents as my dad to Mega. So yeah, I just never, and that was a hard, it's still hard, you know what I mean? Because my dad just died, 7 months ago?
So sorry.
Thank you.
So sorry.
So it hasn't been like an easy topic I feel like I just need to heal fully from it before I'm like speaking about it.
Absolutely.
But I just want to say, you are amazing.
Thank you.
And I wish that like my dad had that courage. I know like, the drug got the best of him, but I wish that, he was as resilient and as strong as you are. And you should be giving your flowers for that.
Thank you. That means a lot
beautiful.
to me. Thank you.
But yeah.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah.
Oh, also, Fashion Nova, thank you so much for always supplying. These jeans are super comfortable. I feel really comfortable and cozy. High-waisted, jeggings, leggings, they have it all. Go to fashionnova.com. Thanks again, guys.
Keep healing.
Keep healing. Peace.
Wounds in